Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take your insights and sources and turn them into actionable knowledge. Today we're continuing our exploration of Patrick Lencioni's, well, foundational work, The Five Dysfunctions of a Team.
Right. Last time, we really unpacked that first dysfunction, the absence of trust. That bedrock element that allows team members to be truly vulnerable with each other.
Exactly. And now we're diving into the second dysfunction. And this one, it might be even more uncomfortable for a lot of teams. We're talking about the fear of conflict.
It really does sound counterintuitive, doesn't it? Suggesting conflict is actually, well, good.
Yeah, I mean, most of us are sort of taught from day one to avoid it, right? Keep the peace, don't make waves.
We are. But Lencioni argues, and honestly, the sources we've looked at strongly back this up, that productive ideological conflict isn't just helpful for high-performing teams, it's actually essential.
Essential. That's a strong word.
It is. Because without it, teams miss out. They miss out on vital information, on different perspectives, and ultimately they just end up making worse decisions. That silence, that lack of debate, it can be way more damaging than a heated discussion.
That's such a powerful distinction. We often think, a quiet meeting means everyone's on board, things are running smoothly, harmony equals health.
Right, the polite nod.
Exactly. But what if keeping the peace is actually holding your team back? What if that quiet, agreeable meeting room is really a symptom of something much deeper, a silence that's hiding critical stuff that needs to be said?
Yeah, stifling potential.
So our mission today is really to unpack why the sphere of conflict gets such a grip on teams. And what does healthy, productive conflict actually look like? How do you even recognize it?
And maybe most importantly, what can leaders do? How can they build an environment where passionate, unfiltered debate isn't just tolerated, but actually encouraged, maybe even celebrated?
Yes. Actively mined for, as Lencioni puts it. We've got some fascinating insights from your sources that really bring this dysfunction to life. They show the pitfalls of avoiding conflict, but also the incredible power of, well, embracing disagreement constructively. So let's dig into this.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit unsettling. Our gut instinct often tells us a quiet team is a good sign. Cohesion, alignment, right?
Yeah, everyone getting along seems ideal.
But Lencioni flips that completely, and many of our sources agree. A consistent lack of open disagreement, that can actually be a massive red flag. It might signal a really deep issue that's just silently chipping away at the team's ability to perform, to innovate, to adapt.
It's like the sound of potential just fizzling out.
Fizzling out, yeah.
And what's really fascinating is how this fear of conflict rose directly out of that lack of vulnerability-based trust we talked about last time.
Right, the foundation.
Exactly. Just a quick reminder, vulnerability-based trust is that feeling of safety, knowing you could be, well, human with your colleagues. You can admit mistakes, say, I don't know, ask for help, float a half-baked idea.
Without fearing you'll be judged or penalized for it?
Precisely. It's that psychological safety net. Yeah. And when that's missing, when team members don't trust each other enough to handle a spirited debate constructively, they pull back.
They retreat.
They censor themselves. They hold back their real opinions. And that self-imposed silence, it comes at a huge cost. Let's call it the cost of suppressed voices.
Yeah, self-imposed silence. That really hits home. Lencioni gives this great example. It's almost like a movie scene. He describes a meeting where this necessary debate, this melee, as he calls it, is just about to happen.
You can feel the tension.
Yeah, you can feel it building. Different opinions are right there under the surface, ready to come out. But then, poof, just like that, he writes, the conversation came to a halt and died. And that silence, Lencioni says, it isn't peace. It's a huge missed opportunity. An opportunity to challenge assumptions, to really get to the core of an issue that desperately needed airing out.
It's the sound of the team just settling.
Yeah.
Settling for okay instead of great.
Exactly. And this isn't just a corporate thing, right? It happens on a personal level, too.
Oh, absolutely. Look at Katharine Graham's personal history. It's incredibly insightful. She talks about how her husband, Phil, wouldn't even have to say anything sometimes. You just give her this subtle look, a look that made her feel like she was going on too long and boring people. It wasn't a big argument, just a look.
Just a look. Wow.
And the effect. She writes that gradually she ceased talking much at all when we were out together. It just shows so powerfully how that fear of judgment, whether it's subtle or overt, real or just perceived it, can completely silence valuable input.
People just shut down, not because they don't have anything to add, but because they're afraid of the reaction. Imagine that playing out in a team meeting every single day.
It's crippling.
It really is, and I bet everyone listening can relate to that on some level. How many times have you held back an opinion, maybe a different perspective, because you didn't want to rock the boat?
Or you felt like you wouldn't be heard anyway. Or maybe you were shot down before.
Right, and those unexpressed ideas, those concerns, they don't just vanish, do they?
No way. They go somewhere. They fester. And often, they morph into something much, much worse. Which brings us to the next point. The danger of warring gangs and internal strife.
Okay, warring gangs. That sounds dramatic.
It can be. When that healthy, issue-focused debate, the ideological conflict Lencioni talks about, when that doesn't happen openly, it doesn't disappear. It just goes underground.
How does that look?
Oh, it manifests in all sorts of ugly ways. Passive aggression, backstabbing, people making deals behind the scenes, hoarding information, retreating into silos.
The us versus them mentality.
Exactly. They avoid the direct, honest, maybe uncomfortable conversation, but instead they engage in these hidden, destructive conflicts that just poison the well. It kills trust and collaboration.
There's that famous example from Microsoft, right? Before Satya Nadella took over.
Oh, yeah, legendary. His book, Hit Refresh, talks about it. The culture was caricatured, maybe not entirely unfairly, as warring gangs, each pointing a gun at another.
That's quite an image.
It paints a pretty clear picture, doesn't it? An organization where productive disagreement was basically replaced by internal turf wars and infighting. Conflict wasn't absent, it was just unhealthy and destructive.
So Nadella saw this.
Absolutely. He explicitly said renewing the culture, ruthlessly removing barriers to innovation, was his #1 priority. That was a direct shot at those warring gangs, those divisions that came from not being able to hash things out constructively.
It really highlights a key point, doesn't it? Avoiding healthy, issue-based conflict doesn't mean you avoid all conflict.
Not at all. It often means you're just trading up. You trade productive debate for destructive personal attacks or political games or just endless simmering resentment.
The energy for disagreement is still there. It just gets channeled badly.
Exactly. It's natural. But without a healthy way to express it, it turns toxic. And the consequences for decision-making, well, they can be incredibly severe.
Which leads right into decisions based on impulse, not debate. If teams can't or won't have those tough, honest arguments,
If they skirt the uncomfortable stuff or just defer to the boss without any real challenge.
then decisions get made without that critical scrutiny, without exploring alternatives, without really understanding the risks. It feels easier in the moment, maybe.
Sure, avoiding the argument feels easier, but that ease comes at a very steep price later on.
Liar's Poker has some pretty wild examples of this, right?
Oh, absolute classic. Michael Lewis colorfully describes senior managers at Salomon Brothers practicing their favorite anatomical trick of thinking with their balls.
Oh, okay.
Meaning they weren't really thinking at all. They were acting on pure impulse, gut feelings, maybe ego, short-term greed, not thoughtful analysis or debate.
So instead of carefully weighing options,
It was just pure, unchecked impulse. And this led them to do things like cutting whole business lines like municipal bonds, money markets, businesses that might have recovered.
why? Just because they weren't profitable right then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The impulse was just cut and run. No deep strategic thought, no painful debate about the long-term consequences or the actual underlying value. Just snip. Gone.
That's a perfect, if slightly terrifying, illustration of what happens when debate is stifled. The quick, easy, impulsive decision wins out over the hard, thoughtful one.
It's classic conflict avoidance,
Yeah.
and it directly impacts the quality of the choices made.
And this whole problem gets even worse when you factor in the problem of hidden agendas and lack of transparency.
Right, because when teams consistently dodge conflict, when real debate is off the table, it creates this perfect breeding ground for people to push their own agendas quietly.
The stuff that wouldn't survive in the open.
Exactly. Open, honest debate is like sunlight. It disinfects, it exposes those hidden motives. Without that sunlight, they can grow in the shadows.
The Enron story, the smartest guys in the room, has chilling examples of this, doesn't it?
It really does. You see Andrew Fastow pushing through those complex deals, the LJM partnerships, even when other executives inside Enron were raising red flags.
So the concerns were there, but
But the crucial conversations, the rigorous debates, the explicit approvals that should have happened, they were often bypassed or handled in opaque ways. The book even mentions rumors of this shadowy global galactic agreement.
which was what, exactly?
Basically an alleged unwritten promise that Enron would cover any losses for Fastow's side deals. Think about that. It effectively neutralized any real financial risk for those partnerships, silencing critical challenges before they could even gain traction.
So it wasn't just one or two bad apples.
No, although there were certainly those. It was a systemic failure, a culture that allowed crucial conversations, vital checks and balances to just be sidestepped. Real ideological conflict couldn't emerge, and the result? Catastrophe.
It's a stark reminder. A lack of transparency, an environment where hidden agendas can fester, that's a direct result of a team dodging conflict.
Absolutely. If people can't bring concerns about a deal, a strategy, anything significant into the open and debate it, honestly,
Yeah.
it goes underground. And down there, it can turn into something really destructive, often only surfacing when it's way too late. That's silence. It's not peace. It's often the ticking sound before an explosion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've established that fearing conflict is, well, pretty bad. It leads to suppressed voices, warring gangs, impulsive decisions, hidden agendas, a whole mess.
Right. So what is this productive ideological conflict that we're supposed to embrace? Let's be clear about what we're not talking about.
Good point. We are absolutely not talking about personal attacks.
Okay.
We're not talking about yelling matches that go nowhere or character assassination or arguments that just drain everyone's energy without resolution.
So no thinking with your balls kind of conflict.
Definitely not. What we are talking about is passionate, yes, but also unfiltered and respectful debate, focused on the important issues, the ideas, the decisions the team needs to make.
It's about getting to the best answer, not just an answer that everyone can agree on quietly.
Precisely. It's about stress testing ideas, challenging assumptions, pushing for clarity, being passionate about the issue, not making it personal.
And the sources you gather really show this isn't just, some nice management theory. It seems to be a fundamental principle for success, resilience, innovation, even in places you might not expect, like the entire economy.
It really is. It's the engine. Take the value of diverse opinions for system stability. This comes from Keynes, of all people, in the general theory of employment, interest, and money.
Okay, Keynes. What did he say about teams?
Well, not teams directly, but he made this incredibly profound point about economic systems. He said, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, that the stability of the whole system actually depends on having a variety of opinions about uncertain things.
A variety of opinions brings stability. That sounds backward.
It does. But he warned that control is way more precarious, the system is more fragile, when everyone tends to hold the same opinion at the same time. Groupthink, essentially.
Wow. So if that's true for a massive economy, imagine the impact on a team. If everyone just agrees all the time.
Especially on complex, uncertain issues, it doesn't lead to stability. It leads to fragility, rigidity. You can't adapt if everyone's locked into the same viewpoint. Potential blind spots just go completely unexamined because no one's offering a different perspective.
So the disagreements, the friction from different views, that's actually a source of strength.
A profound source of strength.
Mm.
It introduces different data, alternative ways of seeing things. It challenges the status quo. That's vital for stability and growth.
Yeah.
A team where everyone agrees constantly isn't stable. It's brittle. It hasn't stress-tested its own assumptions.
Real stability comes from actually processing those diverse viewpoints, not shutting them down.
Exactly, which connects directly to the next idea, challenging assumptions and embracing mistakes.
Okay, this sounds like Ray Dalio territory.
You got it. Dalio's Principles is full of this stuff. He has that famous line, if you look back on yourself a year ago and aren't shocked by how stupid you were, you haven't learned much.
Huh. I like that. It's not about beating yourself up, though, is it?
Not at all. It's about a radical commitment to acknowledging weaknesses openly, honestly, and crucially, working through disagreements in an open-minded way. That mindset is key for healthy conflict
How so?
because it reframes disagreement. It stops being about winning or being right or protecting your ego. It becomes about learning, about collective intelligence getting sharper.
So if you're not having debates where you might, feel a little stupid afterwards because you learned something new, are you really growing? Are you really pushing the boundaries?
That's the question, isn't it? How much potential gets left on the table because we shy away from challenging our own ideas or other people's ideas just to keep things comfortable?
Adam Grant's Originals touches on this too, right? With that baseball analogy.
Yeah, Randy Commissar's analogy. If I'm hitting .300, I'm a genius. That's because the future cannot be predicted. It beautifully captures that uncertainty inherent in anything new. You won't be right all the time.
So the goal isn't perfection, it's learning.
Right. And Grant also shows how critical skepticism, like Commissar questioning Dean Kammen's complex slingshot water purifier, worrying it would end up in a garbage heap, wasn't just negativity.
It was productive conflict.
Exactly. It was vital feedback. It pushed for refinement, for simplification, for making the innovation stronger, more viable. It's that friction that sharpens the idea, sharpens the blade.
Friction that sharpens the blade. I like that image. And then there's the idea from Built to Last, the genius of the A&D.
Ah, yes, Collins and Porras.
Yeah.
They found that visionary companies didn't get trapped in either thinking. They embraced paradox. They found ways to pursue A and B simultaneously.
Like low cost and high quality, or being conservative and bold.
Exactly, things that seem mutually exclusive. And navigating that, resolving those creative tensions that come from different perspectives that requires conflict. Healthy conflict.
It's not about compromise then, splitting the difference.
No, it's deeper than that. It's about synthesis.
Yeah.
Elevating the conversation to find a solution that genuinely takes the best of seemingly opposing views and creates something new, something stronger.
That takes intense debate, surely, challenging assumptions from all sides.
Absolutely. And a real creative openness to find those connections is probably the highest form of collaborative conflict, really.
And all this rigorous debate naturally feeds into better strategic decision-making through opposing options.
Precisely. Roger Martin's Playing to Win hammers this home. Strategy is about making choices. And making smart choices means weighing competing and opposing options.
And doing it as a group.
Critically, yes. Making these decisions in a group. Strategy involves deciding how to win. And that inherently requires debating alternatives, understanding trade-offs, stress testing potential outcomes.
So that friction, the tension between different strategic ideas, that's not a flaw in the process.
It's a feature, a necessary feature. It's how you refine the strategy, identify weaknesses, challenge assumptions, and ultimately arrive at choices that are robust and resilient.
A consensus reached without that vigorous debate is probably pretty fragile.
Like a bridge built without load testing, yeah. It looks fine until the pressure hits.
And sometimes embracing conflict means being willing to confront unpleasant realities, even if it's uncomfortable or makes you unpopular.
Yeah, this is where it can get really tough. Think about Steve Eisman in The Big Short.
The guy who shorted the housing market.
That's him. He deliberately created what he called a shitstorm with his analysis of subprime lenders. He didn't give them a heads up because he didn't want to be talked out of it.
Wow. He went straight for the jugular.
He did. He publicly called the CEO of Moody's delusional for trusting their own ratings, despite all the warning signs. It was incredibly confrontational.
So what's the takeaway there? Should we all start calling CEOs delusional?
Probably not the main takeaway. But it highlights the courage, sometimes needed, to speak a really unpopular truth, especially when it challenges powerful people or systems that benefit from the status quo.
The courage to be the one who points out the emperor has no clothes?
Exactly, even if you do it more diplomatically than Eisman. The point is, what's the cost to the team or even society if no one is willing to voice those uncomfortable truths? Sometimes the truth is just inconvenient, and ignoring it because it's hard to talk about. That leads to disaster.
Okay, so we're convinced healthy ideological conflict is vital for innovation, stability, good decisions, all of it. So what's the leader's job in making this happen?
Well, it's definitely not just sitting back and letting arguments happen, hoping for the best.
Right, that sounds like chaos.
It could be. The leader's role is much more active. It's about deliberately mining for conflict, seeking it out, and more importantly, creating the conditions where productive disagreement can actually flourish.
So it's intentional,
Right.
proactive.
Absolutely. Leaders have to intentionally build an environment where people feel safe enough to challenge ideas, to speak their minds, and then they need to skillfully facilitate those debates.
Keeping it focused on issues, not personalities.
Exactly. The goal is always clarity and ultimately commitment. It's a balancing act for sure, but it's crucial for high performance.
And step one, the absolute foundation, has to be creating a safe environment for dissent. You can't have healthy conflict without psychological safety.
You really can't. Blue Ocean Leadership talks about this, creating a safe environment for learning, empowering people, especially frontline managers, to stretch themselves.
But how do leaders actually do that? It's not just saying it's safe.
No, declarations are cheap. Safety is built through actions. The book highlights how it comes from senior managers visibly rolling up their sleeves, pushing the change themselves, showing through their own engagement and maybe even their own vulnerability that this is real, it's important, and it's safe to participate fully.
So leading by example, admitting mistakes, inviting critique themselves.
Precisely. When people see leaders doing the hard work, owning it when they mess up, asking tough questions of themselves, it sends a powerful signal. It says, okay, this isn't just talk. It really is safe to speak up here, even with a dissenting view.
It's an absolute prerequisite then. Without safety, you just get silence.
You get silence, or you get the unhealthy, underground kind of conflict we talked about earlier. When leaders visibly engage, maybe conduct interviews themselves, actively draw out ideas, admit they don't have all the answers, that creates the space.
And another huge barrier to creating that safety and to productive conflict in general is breaking the US versus them mentality.
Oh, that's a killer. When different departments or teams or levels see each other as the enemy, forget healthy debate.
It just becomes a battle to win, right? Not a search for the best solution.
Exactly. Extreme ownership. The book by the Navy SEALs Jocko Willink and Leif Babin tackles this head-on. Their advice is super practical.
What do they suggest?
Leaders need to proactively bridge those gaps. Don't just complain about senior leadership or another department. Actively inform them. Help them understand the challenges you're facing on the ground.
So communicate upward and outward. Courageously.
Yes. Don't wait to be asked. Don't just resent decisions made elsewhere. Take ownership of the communication. Reframe it from opposition, they don't get it, to partnership. Here's what we're seeing. How can we solve this together?
That proactive bridging, dismantling those perceived barriers, it's about making everyone feel like they're on the same team.
Which is essential. And leaders also need to be super diligent about ensuring all voices are heard.
Because it's easy for the loudest voices to dominate.
So easy. And if that happens, you're losing out on a huge chunk of the team's collective brainpower, their experience, their different ways of seeing things. You're operating at half capacity.
Jim Collins had a way of dealing with this, didn't he? In turning goals into results.
Yeah, a really simple but effective anecdote. He used a red flag device in his classes because he noticed a few students always dominated the discussion.
The usual suspects.
Right. And crucially, he observed there was no correlation between the degree of vocal aggressiveness and how much these students improved the class's overall learning experience. The loudest weren't necessarily the wisest.
So what did he do?
He deliberately worked to draw out contributions from the quieter individuals. He intentionally made space for them, prompted them.
That's a perfect example of actively mining for disagreement, for different perspectives. It's not passive facilitation.
Not at all. You have to manage the dynamic. Ensure the loudest voice isn't the only voice, or mistaken for the best voice. Create the space, psychological and actual, for those quieter, maybe deeper insights to surface.
Otherwise, great ideas just get lost because they weren't shouted.
Exactly. And this careful facilitation is crucial when navigating difficult conversations and fostering true unity. Because conflict will happen in healthy teams. The question is how you handle it.
Kim Scott's Radical Candor talks about this, right? The danger zones.
She does. She warns that disagreements can get overly personalized, or silent disagreement can become toxic, leading to that bizarre backroom bartering and long-held grudges.
Not productive.
Definitely not. Her core advice, care, personally, challenge directly, means you need to give a damn about the person, even when delivering tough feedback or navigating a really difficult issue like firing someone. It's that human-centered approach.
And Stephen Covey offers a powerful tool for this in The 7 Habits, win-win or no deal.
Yes. That's such a liberating concept. It basically says, if we can't find a solution that genuinely works for both of us, a truly synergistic outcome.
The genius of the A&D outcome.
Right. If we can't find that, then it's better to just agree to disagree, agreeably no deal, walk away without forcing a bad compromise.
That takes the pressure off, doesn't it? You don't have to reach a suboptimal agreement just for the sake of agreement.
Exactly. It frees you up to be truly creative in finding a better solution, or to respectfully disengage, preserving the relationship. Covey emphasizes valuing differences. Sameness is not oneness. Uniformity is not unity. Unity is complementariness.
That's profound. Unity comes from fitting different pieces together, not making everyone the same.
Precisely. And having no deal as a valid option protects that. It respects the other party's needs and your own.
This whole process, navigating conflict well, it seems to be about moving from adversarial to partnership.
That's a great way to put it. Many successful leaders and organizations have had to make that journey.
Like Sam Walton.
Yeah, Sam Walton Made in America shows this evolution. Initially, he fostered fierce internal competition at Walmart. It drove results, but it also created situations like, store managers at war with an ambitious young guy.
Sounds like those warring gangs again.
It could have easily become that. But Walton learned. He learned to step in as a tiebreaker. But more importantly, he learned to evolve relationships. even with suppliers, transforming the typically adversarial vendor-retailer relationship into what he called a win-win partnership.
So he learned to manage the inherent tensions and channel them towards collaboration.
Exactly. Leveraging conflict for collective good rather than letting it tear things apart. It's a mature approach.
And finally, all of this, the safety, the open debate, the partnership, it's essential for sustaining innovation through openness.
Absolutely critical. New ideas are fragile things.
Yeah.
Strategic flexibility warns that rigid formalistic adoption procedures can be the kiss of death for a locally promising innovation.
Meaning too much bureaucracy kills good ideas before they can grow.
Pretty much. Instead, the book argues for the building of trust, the encouragement of play, and the acceptance of the importance of time to nurture innovation.
Play. That's interesting.
Yeah, like allowing experimentation, tolerating initial failures, all these things. Trust, play, time, they thrive in an environment where ideas, even the weird or half-baked ones, can be freely discussed, debated, challenged, refined.
Without fear of being instantly shot down or buried in paperwork.
Exactly. Innovation often starts with an uncomfortable idea. If there's no space to wrestle with it openly, critique it constructively, and build on it collaboratively, it probably just dies quietly, along with the future it might have represented.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. What does this all mean for you, our listener, and your team?
Well, the big takeaway is that fear of conflict. It's a silent killer. It breeds suppression, hidden agendas, bad decisions.
Yeah.
It erodes trust and performance.
And this is the crucial part. Embracing productive ideological conflict. That can be a team's superpower. It transforms a group of individuals into something much more unified, resilient, and high-performing.
But it doesn't just happen. It requires leaders to be really intentional, to actively build that vulnerability-based trust, to make sure different perspectives aren't just tolerated, but actively sought out, challenged, debated, passionately, but respectfully.
It's about seeing disagreements not as problems to be avoided, but as opportunities.
Exactly. They're the crucible,
Yeah.
the fire in which better ideas, stronger solutions, and tougher, more unified teams are forged. It's moving beyond just managing people to really leading collaboration, facilitating that deep, meaningful, sometimes messy, but ultimately productive engagement.
It's proactive leadership, mining for that gold.
Mining for the gold in the disagreement.
So for you, our listener, maybe the question to ponder this week is, what crucial conversations are your teams not having right now? What great ideas might be lying dormant, or what opportunities are being missed simply because of that fear, that reluctance to rock the boat or step into the discomfort of real debate?
The journey to high performance often starts with finding the courage to have those necessary, uncomfortable, but absolutely vital conversations.
Keep asking those tough questions. Challenge respectfully. And we'll be here for your next deep dive.